Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. This is the game that everyone has been waiting for. It's been a long build up to this point, but Fnatic versus XL is coming your way. The battle of the academies, the battle to see who's the real front runner in this league. Not discounting Barrage, of course, but these guys come with the names attached. And I'm excited. I really actually couldn't call it either way. I think it's very difficult to assess who has the edge. I think Dan's about to tell me who he thinks has the edge, but for me, it's one of those that is pretty tough to call.
Yeah, so based on how they've played so far, I think Fnatic have looked like the better team. They've been cleaner, they've been more coordinated. The first couple of games, they had a bit of a weird draft priority, but that sort of shaped up in their most recent one, where it was more normalized to what we see traditionally, internationally, in the current meta. Still prioritizing that Sejuani a lot, which is a little bit for Dan special, but for the most part, they've looked quite clean. Whereas BTXL, a bit more sloppy, and now you can make a lot of inferences about that. Maybe the level of respect they're treating sort of teams who aren't sort of Fnatic with. There was definitely more serious play up against Envision, but Envision definitely gave some fight back. So I think this is Fnatic Rising favored. History has set that precedent as well, but everyone knows that when it comes to this game in the UKLC, this is where they have to bring everything. And I think for the most part, Deadly and Kasing have looked stellar. I think Special, there was that later game performance on the USO, but his laning has looked like a force to be reckoned with. Sendo's looked more consistent. I think Taxa, for the most part, has had good early pressure. But on the other side of Fnatic, I mean, they've just looked clean across the board. I don't think there's much more to say about Fnatic because they really haven't been challenged at all.
Sure. I think we're very much looking forward to seeing this game. And this is a grudge match, remember? Almost every finals that we've had in the UKLC has mostly been Fnatic versus XL. The last one and the one before that, and pretty much every one for the last few times has been Fnatic's victory. The Twickenham meetup where we had Fnatic versus XL was again another Fnatic victory. So XL, finally, they're looking for a chance to just put their stamp on Fnatic and say, we actually can win this matchup, because it has been historically Fnatic favored.
Yeah, which unfortunately, even if they do win this matchup, they have won against Fnatic before, but it's just never when it really matters.
Never when it counts, yeah.
But this is still a good precedent to set if they can topple them in this matchup and sort of knock the crown a little bit off their head would be a strong start. And I think these two, there's a lot of challenges. There's Barrage on a perfect record, 4-0 in the first 2 weeks. And there's obviously the roster of Envision, even though it hasn't quite come to fruition. A lot of the other orgs have stepped up and looked to challenge the academies. And last split, obviously, they looked untouchable. But the split before, XL didn't even make it to EU Masters. Yeah. So I think there's obviously distinguishing yourself from the other teams, but you want to put yourself ahead of your academy counterpart here and now.
I think both Fnatic and XL, if they did not both make European Masters at the end of this split, it's a disappointment for these organizations and these rosters.
100%. I mean, Fnatic has made EU Masters not just the past 2 times, but also got top 4. And to get top 4 last time, I know, was a disappointment for them. They wanted to exceed that. To not make it
coming into
ludicrous.
Coming into that European Masters, everyone said Fnatic Rising is top 2 team. Just flat out, from scrims results and everything, everyone was saying Fnatic Rising, top 2. So they were disappointed with the top 4 situation. You can talk about what you like with this team, but a lot of people would even say with Dan now back on the roster, this is maybe upgrading the team as a whole. Pride, some question marks up there on the top lane, but Bravado has looked fantastic in the support role.
I think no shade towards Ronaldo, but he's gone back to his mid lane role. I think that's what suits him better. Bravado in the support role, I think, offers a wider champion pool and more proficiency. He's paired up really well with Dan, who was a massive part of their early success in their spring roster last year. I think Pride, he is a little bit of a question mark because we haven't seen a ton of him, and I think with track record, Bando and Shikari edge him out. But this is a big test for him. This is a chance to sort of show, I am here. I am matching up to my former counterpart.
This is his chance to make his own track record.
Absolutely. This is an opportunity to do so. And he was brought in from their coach, Nico DePico's former team, because he saw potential in him. So we have had very quick bans fly through. The Leona target away from Bravado for that Leona-Sejuani combo. And then just a lot of power picks across the board. But particularly a target towards Special in the mid lane, losing the LeBlanc, Kiana, and Akali. And BTXL just going to lock in that set. We've seen the Koreans in the LCK have a lot of priority on that champion in the first rotation, and we're seeing BTXL follow in their footsteps.
Yeah, obviously, Aphelios is still up for Matty with Senna banned away. That is an AD carry that has high priority and is going to get locked in immediately for Fnatic. They could take their jungler here. They could take their support, or both of them are pretty good.
Dan was talking about before the game how he's been spamming a Moo and Fiddlestick.
Yeah.
So that's why he's harboring it. He's trying to get the mental edge. But
I don't think anyone's expecting. Not until next patch, anyway.
I don't think we'll see either of those in this situation. 10.4 actually, the Moo buffs are
10.4.
coming in. But either way, so in this position, you could secure a support or a jungler for the side of Fnatic, and I think they're going to go for the support. So really strong picks offered to Bravado and Maddie, and with Leona off the table as one of those primary engagers, Nautilus is a good follow-up to offer in return. Now for BTXL, if you want to keep a high priority AD carry, Misfortune is still open. You could go towards a Syndra, which works as a flex. You need to lock that in now, though, because they will not get through the second rotation. And if you want to pick up a jungler for yourself, I know Taxa, he's done well on the Gragas, is also happy with Jarvan and Lee Sin. Now is the opportunity to take that.
Yeah, they have the... They have that Syndra locked in. I think the Taxa-Dan matchup is the one big mismatch that I'm looking at sometimes. I think Taxa stepped up hugely over the last few splits that we've seen him. For the last 2 years, he's grown and gone from strength to strength. But I do feel like Dan is arguably just the best jungler in the league in terms of what he can do and what he has done in his own track record.
He was when he left, he is when he comes back.
Yeah.
But it looks like they're going to take the Syndra for special, but not use it as a flex and lock in that Misfortune for Deadly. And then instantly the answer back from Dan is the Sejuani. This is something he's played every single game so far. It was paired up in tandem with Bravado and the Leona, offering a lot of CC to any sort of skirmishes they have, but he's still holding on to that.
Nautilus offers a similar kind of thing, right?
Yeah, similar. It's still a lot of CC offered by that mid-jungle combo, and then quite a bit of base damage if you find any squishies. So we are in a second rotation. Trundle banned away. This is something Taxa could pick up into the Sejuani as well in terms of stealing those resistances. And then we see the Aurelia taken away from Magic Felix, but also a flex to Pride. Olaf, another jungler,
a classic Taxa as well. A classic Taxa jungler.
I feel like this is getting towards Jarvan Gragas territory for Taxa. You could go the Lee Sin if you want to apply a bit more early pressure, although I feel like Elise might be a little bit difficult to pull off because you really combo is something, particularly in the LPL before, obviously the LPL got shut down for a while. A lot of success in that. Obviously they love their team fights over there, but it's very difficult to deal with that combo, especially if you're playing Aphelios when you're without flash, and also on top of that with no Braum to stand in front of you and block the damage from that. So Fnatic Rising, and something we talked about, we assumed this was a support Nautilus. This could be a flex. The Nautilus could be flexed. The Karma could be flexed. We did see Fnatic play a Karma mid at EU Masters in summer last year, and they synergized well with Mighty on a hyper carry, and it just meant the late game was almost guaranteed for them. But I will say that doesn't really do anything to stop a Jarvan combo into a Misfortunal. Even the shields from Karma won't guarantee you survival in that situation.
It's going to be the Braum locked in, and then we'll see what the final pick is. Jarvan does make the obvious sense just because of how much layering of CC you can get with the Braum on top of that too. We'll see. Gragas works just as well, though. Gragas is a decent shout, too.
And against Envision, which arguably was XL's biggest challenge so far this split, Tax was really solid on the Jarvan when it came to those team fighting later on, especially as well. Envision ran the Soraka. They had a composition which could keep an AD carry safe, but it was not enough against that, and they will lock in that Jarvan for XL. So rounded out a pretty solid team comp, good aggression across the board, able to be applied in the lanes, but they are going up against a lot of scaling from Fnatic Rising and still a heavy CC pair in that jungle support role. So now we're going to see where the flexes end up going to an extent, because they could still end up moving the Karma up towards the top lane if they wanted.
Yeah. We'll have to see. It's going to be I mean, we've seen this from Fnatic. If they do indeed lock into Vladimir, that's something that Magi Felix has piloted time and time again, but it could indeed go to the top lane towards Set as well. So
it looks like for now, this is where things are sort of ending up. Obviously with BTXL, it's very standard where things go. The Fnatic Rising looking to put Karma potentially in the top lane. It's been a long time since we've seen the Karma in the top lane. Did get nerfs to her AP ratios.
And Clancy not being there anymore, obviously. Yeah, just Punisher.
Did recently get buffs to her base damages on the Q and W, and obviously with the current meta, we're leaning a bit more scaling, and these supports in the top lane doing extremely well. Could lend itself. Now, would be 20 seconds for the last swap, and it looks like it will be Pride and Karma and Magifelix on Vladimir. But that does not mean they're necessarily going mid and top. We have very much seen these players swap between their roles. Fnatic especially like to do that, called a human swap sometimes, where you don't swap the champions, but you just put players in different positions from their standard roles. So
either matchup is terrible for Set though, really.
No, and neither matchup is for him. I feel like Vladimir is a little bit better because you can actually get up in his face with his long cooldowns in the early game.
And he's got fairly low damage, whereas Karma's just going to hit on you from straight.
You do have tools, but I feel like good play from Pride should never allow the set to get up in your face unless a gank comes in. So we'll have to wait and see.
Guys, this is it. This is Fnatic versus XL. The compositions have been locked in. I'm going to wait until we get into game to start to talk about the win conditions and what we expect from these teams. Right now, I just want to get hyped. This is XL Fnatic. This is the money match in the UK. It's a finals rematch. It's the battle of the academies. Really is going to decide who, at least for the first part of this split, defines themselves as essentially the best team in the league, although Barrage is still pending, but it really puts themselves out there.
That's the big thing that makes it even more hype. Usually, if XL loses Fnatic or vice versa, it puts you second. It does not anymore. Barrage are 4-0. Right now in the standings, they're in the #1 spot. One of these teams will be matching them, the other falling behind. And then next week, Barrage faces up against both of these teams. It could get even worse. If you lose here and then lose against Barrage, you wouldn't be the top 2 anymore. You'd be just fighting. You'd be down below with the other teams.
You'd be in the mud.
Yeah, exactly. So
we are into game, ladies and gentlemen. We're on to the Rift of XL versus Fnatic. We'll see which team is going to cement themselves as the best academy team in the UK. It's classically always been Fnatic, but XL definitely got a revamped and refreshed roster. Maybe the best bot lane they've ever had as well. So I'm very much looking forward to this. Orcs, let's start to talk about these compositions. Tell me about the win conditions.
So I think for BTXL, there is definitely a timer on this game. There's going to come a point where Vladimir just becomes too difficult to deal with, coupled with the Karma shielding, the great CC, and the Aphelios. I don't think you want this to go super late. There's still potential at that point if you get a great combo with the Misfortune and the Jarvan that you can take down these carries without flashes. But at the same time, it's still going to be difficult. BTXL, they want to apply pressure for minute 1. And a big advantage they have is priority in the mid lane. Special will outshove Magifelix for a very long time. Magifelix, long cooldowns on his transfusion earlier. At level 9, he maxes that out and he can at least sustain Special's damage. But this is one of the strengths of Syndra, is that you will just push in almost any matchup and be able to move with Taxa around the map and get advantages. And something we've typically seen from Special a lot is he looks to roam bot, sometimes with Taxa, but even sometimes without him, to find potential to punish the enemy bot lane. And if he can do this and set Deadly up to be a big carry, it can make a massive difference. And
yeah, I mean, I actually want to talk about that. You mentioned
there's something to pop out. Yeah, there's some wards coming in, and this is denying a map split from Taxa, or at least giving the information of it. Because not only have they warded the 2 entrances to Dan's topside jungle, they've also warded the pit. And you can actually see pings coming out. So they may have read this completely. I think they know Taxa is going to flag and drag over the wall and look to contest this red. He does not know there is a ward there. So this is extremely good scouting from Fnatic.
Yeah, they've researched this to a T. They know exactly what Taxa is going to do. They've even set it up for it. The sweeper does come through. He will see that ward there.
But there is no way Taxa gets into this jungle without being spotted. That is the big thing here. And so Dan has 100% information here. He knows Taxa's there. And then now he can make a decision on how to play around this. The only unfortunate thing is neither of his lanes have priority. He's not in the best position to move, but Taxa, he doesn't feel comfortable. This might be a smite battle, but Dan is a little bit higher on health.
Yeah, Dan is definitely a little bit higher. He actually misses out that flail, so he'll be okay, and he's going to head back over to his blue buff. Although, actually, you can see Sendo moving in. They are going to contest this red buff pretty heavily. I think because they have the mid lane priority from Special right now, it's difficult for Fnatic to actually contest this.
Yeah, so conceptually, this was great from Fnatic, but it's very difficult to actually contest this because you are losing priority in mid and top.
They're actually going to get the Krugs away from Dan as well. So he actually loses a chunk of experience, and Taxa's just going to leave a couple of the medium Krugs left alive. He's going to head back over to the Rift Scuttler and then maybe head over to his own blue. But he's disrupted Dan enough right now in the early game to just be happy with that.
So I understand that Special absolutely wins priority over Magifelix, but Pride being a ranged top laner level 1 could have potentially walked up and tried to contest Sendo. So it does put Dan in a little bit of a difficult position, but they won't take the red buff, just denying a camp and slowing Dan down. We have seen Dan typically farm heavily in these games. So he's just set him off his pace to a degree, but he's hit level 3 thanks to the Raptors. He's going to get this red, but he's going to be denied this Scuttle Crab on this top side. And Taxa, he can now head straight to his bot side to pick up that one as well. The priority received from Deadly and Kasing allowed them to roam up and get vision control on that Scuttle. So really no chance of Dan contesting this in the levels, but Sendo finding some good trade.
Sendo finding a 1v1 pressure versus Pride, bit of damage coming out as well. So the one thing that we didn't really mention is that you do get a lot of inbuilt sustain from Set. So just trying to weather the storm that Karma is throwing his way.
Yeah, I mean with Doran Shield as well, it's like, I mean look at the mana of Pride is all I'm going to say. He's clearly been trying to chunk Sendo down, but he's just healing so much. It's really a difficult thing to do, and anytime you walk up, Karma is pretty short range, and for a melee champion, Sendo has decent ranges on Set. If you get caught by that face breaker, you can take a pretty heavy trade that goes in the favor of Sendo.
He's having a pretty good early game so far, Sendo. Sendo is someone on the XL roster that does receive a bit of criticism from time to time. People often pointed to him over the last year as being one of the weaker members of the team, but I'd say he's had an okay split so far in the UKLC this year.
Yeah, and there's two factors to it. Is one, I think Sendo has so far played better and been more consistent. But the other thing is that Bando and Shikari looked better than Sendo when they were on Fnatic.
Yeah.
And this is very early in the game, very early in the split. But Pride, he wants to also look better than Sendo if he wants to prove that he was a good replacement for those two players.
That was kind of the benchmark for Fnatic top laners. If they beat Sendo, like
I mean, that was what you needed to do. That
Yeah.
was, you want to beat XL, you want to beat your counterpart. That was basically the criteria. That's how you matched up.
They got good vision control. I mean, you saw both in a unanimous move, Sendo and Special moving into the red side jungle just to ward out both the Raptors and the Krugs. You know, they know that Dan is a very pathing-orientated jungler. He will farm his way through the early game, and they just want to keep tabs on him.
And this is punishing him for picking Sejuani, which no one's been able to do yet, because Dan has prioritized his champ massively. And this is XL saying, you can't just pick this against us. This is a vulnerable champion in a lot of areas.
It's going to go aggressive onto Dan here. Maybe be a smite battle for and Dan. Tax is just going to take it, I think.
Yeah, and this is one of the big issues. I mean, Dan had already used his smite, so wasn't even able to contest that one. But Sejuani, your Arctic Assault, is on a 20+ second cooldown now. This was a nerf that pushed her out the meta. And now Pride.
He's got no mana to work with. That's going to be the ultimate coming through. Good flash coming out from Pride, but he really has nothing to work with at this point in time. First blood goes to Sendo, and XL take the first move in this game.
That was actually beautifully played from Sendo. He ulted him out of turret range, so even though the flag and drag missed because of the flash, they didn't have aggro, so they could then re-engage. Taxa took the aggro, flashed out, and Pride, he ends up going down. Really good setup, and there's a big CS lead coming out already.
Yeah, I was just about to mention it. Not what you'd expect in the kind of matchup, but I mean, Set, just like we said, kind of does have that inbuilt sustain. If you aren't able to consistently put him under the thumb, then he will just start to regen, and that can be difficult for Karma.
And the thing is, I feel like Karma does not scale as well as the likes of Soraka.
Yeah.
I feel like in the later stages, shielding is great, but you don't quite match up. A lot of Karma's strength is in his huge damage built into it in a flame. And the fact that you don't have an ultimate like Soraka that can affect globally, this pick isn't as strong, I'd say, in the current meta. And if you are losing in the laning phase, it can be a little bit difficult. Right now, XL, they are on the pace they should be for this game. We said they need to get advantages early, and they're looking to do so. They're picking up this dragon at 7 minutes, and the pace is decent. If we take a look across the map, CS leads across the board, apart from the jungle, but managed to develop slight gold leads, put them 1,000 ahead in total.
XL have really stepped up how clean they've looked in the early game. And some of the questions that you raised is that you felt like they were maybe messing around a little bit sometimes.
They're not messing around now.
They're not messing around now versus Fnatic. They're definitely, I mean, even just the vision control. I mean, look at that, another deep control ward from Sendo just to mark Dan, just to exploit the fact that he is predictable. The way that he moves to the jungle is the same, and he wants to keep eyes on where they are at all points. It's really good stuff from XL so far.
I think that's my favorite thing about this matchup is these two teams have sights on each other, they have rivalry, similar to G2 and Fnatic in the LEC, and they put so much effort and preparation in this matchup because this is the big one. And so they will scour over each other's games, assess situations. You saw the attempt at a defense level 1 from Dan, clearly expecting what Taxa would go for, but Taxa was ready for it and still contested. But now Bravado, taking a lot of damage there from Deadly. The bullet time already used. not able to finish up, but
They've got good defensive vision, so they know they're not getting dived right now.
Fnatic bot lane's struggling. And I think this is a hard matchup because, you know, Misfortune is very much a lane bully, and then on top of that, Nautilus can't do much into a Braum because he offers that concussive blows, you engage, the shield comes down to block any follow-up from your AD carry, and on top of that, the Nautilus gets stunned up and beaten down on. But as you said earlier, possibly the best bot lane XL has ever had, and I feel like Inax was obviously a really stellar player. I feel like Kjaran as well, having been world champion, being not world champion, but getting up to the finals, semi-finals, sorry. It was Fnatic got the finals. Regardless, I think Deadly and Kasing work really well as a pair because Deadly is very resource intensive and Kasing is very much about playing around bot lane. And then on top of that, these two have been duoing for such a long time. The synergy very much there. We now see Reset come in from Fnatic, and they're actually a little bit ahead on pace here, but Taxa was already at the Herald. It's going to go down with no contest.
Yeah, they swapped to contest this Herald, but I mean, they're just going straight back bot lane.
Yeah, I think at this situation, Deadly has his choice of where to go. I think they do see Fnatic show up top, and the decision is being made. We want to match them because we are destroying them so far.
I mean, this is really, really good from XL. I had questions. You know, we mentioned the jungle matchup was going to be important. Dan versus Taxa. Taxa has steamed ahead right now.
And this is the XL special. This is particularly the Deadly special. So everyone knows that meme from long ago about Double Lift where he'd always been a side lane farming up. Deadly does that to this day. He will go into the side lane, he will pick up solo farm and solo XP, and he comes out ahead in farm and levels of his opponent. And especially with the current state of the game, where solo experience is worth so much more than shared, they do this to get a Misfortune who is strong and has a ton of gold in her pocket. You can see slight CS lead over Xmandi, but the big thing is he's now overtaken in levels. And this will continue because Kasing's happy just to give up experience and let Deadly pull ahead. And obviously, didn't happen for too long here because Kasing has showed up bot lane, but you'll see later in this game, it is a consistent thing we've seen so far with Deadly.
I mean, even Sendo is on set, sometimes you do struggle when you're solo clearing versus a two-man push, but Set's got great wave clear. With a Tiamat as well, he's just going to be able to... It makes it impossible for Matty and Bravado to actually find that push onto the top lane tower, and they're going to have to rotate back, but they're slow. They're slow again. XL are the ones that are dictating these rotations, and right now, XL look on fire.
And I think this is the thing, is that Fnatic drafted for scaling, and there is still very much a win condition for that, but you can see how in all lanes they are being shoved up and hugging the towers, and now the Herald's getting thrown down. They want Deadly to get all the gold from this, but that is a perfect spot for this tower to go down and give all the gold in his pocket.
It's going straight down, first
690,
tower.
there you go.
690 gold into the back pocket. I'd love to see the difference between Deadly and Matty right now in terms of gold income. If we can get a look at that at some point, it'd be great, because let's have a look at, about 1,300 right now.
Sword.
That's a BF sword right there over his counterparts. He's definitely got a good early lead to work with. The Dragon is coming back up in, well, just under a minute now. So XL have reset. They may end up giving this one up. I don't know if they're going to get enough time to set up the vision here.
They have time to force back in because Fnatic are on the back foot, but Fnatic do have vision control, so it will be a little bit dangerous than pushing through. But right now, there's an item advantage for BTXL, and critically, they are on a reset advantage. Although one big thing is Kasing hasn't yet been able to upgrade his support item, and that's one of the problems. You leave Deadly alone all this time, you don't get those stacks, and that means you're unable to get any wards to throw down. At the moment, Bravado potentially threatening something mid, so Special has to respect. And MagiFelix, he's got past that first spike for Vladimir, which is that level 9 point when your transfusion is maxed.
Yeah.
He's got a bit more cooldown reduction to challenge things. Taxa, they're looking for him, but he's able to flash away. Bravado doesn't quite find him there. They get Taxa's flash, though, and you can see the vision control coming down in the bot lane. Fnatic, they had the priority, and they're making use of it.
They'll be able to get this Dragon pretty quickly. And you were right, they had time to force their way back in. I didn't think it would be possible, but XL are just that much further ahead, I think, in terms of skirmishing and teamfight potential. They'll pick up the second Dragon without any kind of contest. But that maybe also shows you the presence of mind that Fnatic have got. Some other teams in our league might have tried to contest that.
Yeah,
and
you're not
just
playing for second Dragon.
Yeah.
Fnatic are not playing for second Dragon. They're 3k gold down. Deadly is looking very strong. They got the flash from Taxa, and they stalled timeout by contesting that vision for a long time, but at the end of the day, you're not going to try and contest that one when you're looking to go later in this game. Sendo getting damage on this tower, but not quite able to get that plate. Pride, going to throw some poke in, but really I don't think Sendo really cares about it, and we'll just brush it off. Right now, this tower mid's being threatened.
This is really good from XL. They've picked up so many plates. I mean, would you expect a melee matchup to take this many plates versus a Karma? in the 1v1 scenario as well. It's insane.
And I think it's showing maybe some of the limitations that Karma has into the set, who has so much sustain, but also you have to ask how much of this is matchup dependent in terms of the players. There was that punish that came out from Taxa with the dive, but Pride has not been having fun in this matchup. And remember, it was a set first pick. They knew this was coming.
Yeah.
They opted into this matchup.
Maybe this is just something that Sendo feels incredibly comfortable with. Maybe it's something that he's said, well, regardless of the matchup, I think the sustain can help me out. It's definitely been a rough ride for Fnatic so far. Matty also, one of the guys that is so dependable for Fnatic as a carry, is behind his counterpart in the form of Deadly.
And that's a big thing with Deadly. And it's not just on BTXL, because it was the same on Giants. He will beat out other KD carries because he demands gold, and it makes him so effective in the later stages of the game. On Giants, he would pick up consistent waves.
He's doing it again, solo experience.
Yeah,
like
solo experience, solo gold. It pulls him ahead in experience, and he will be so strong in the later stages of the game as a result. And it just puts him ahead of the curve. And this is how Deadly plays, and Kasing knows that. He's played a ton of duo queue with him, and he knows this is his style, and he sets up for it perfectly, and it results in a big difference. Despite Xmadi being a formidable AD carry, a lot of people argue possibly the closest player in the UK to go to be LEC ready. He's just behind, and he's not going to be able to hold up to Deadly until he catches up in golden levels.
Deadly waiting out for it right here. Actually flashes immediately. The knockup is not going to land.
Yeah, a little bit late on that ult, but the flash burn from Xmadi makes him very vulnerable. And you can see
threatens the dive.
Priority achieved mid, a lean coming in. They're looking. Second flash down.
Flash from Bravado as well. That's the bot lane now very vulnerable. They're just going to go for the turret. Absolutely nothing that Fnatic can do about it. And now they may even just rotate for that Rift Herald for free. That will then allow them to set up for a shove in the mid lane. Look at this. Sendo shove bot lane. He's now rotating mid to put pressure on and clear waves. XL are all on the same page. They are playing the best League of Legends they've played this split in the game that they needed to do it.
But there's still a big but, and that is the fact that Fnatic have a lot of scaling available to them.
They've got Magi Felix on Vladimir.
They drafted into this.
Yeah.
They knew this was coming. Maybe not at the pace that is currently occurring in front of us, but they knew they would be on the back foot from minute one. And as much as there are leads for BTXL, they are still keeping up to a degree in CS.
Well,
Right running away.
He looks confident. Sendo looks confident right now.
I think Karma can just run away.
Yeah, Karma shouldn't. I mean, Sendo's probably not going to catch that. You can see Pride now sticking around. After being so defensive, I think Sendo realizes that he's either got backup or he just needs to be a bit careful here. Sendo, I've been impressed with him so far. 40 CS lead almost opened up on a ranged matchup in the top lane.
Doing well on this first pick set. They took up the confidence that's paying off for them so far.
It's been quiet in the mid lane though, between Magi Felix and Sendo, Magi Felix and Special.
The big thing has been priority though. Special unable to punish Magi Felix, but he's able to shove the wave in consistently and then move around the map. You saw that play towards the top side. It came down from Special having the setup, and ult comes in from Special and Deadly. And you can see how low Xmadi is. Tower's going to go down. I don't think he can recall there.
Bravado's not got flash, remember, so he's just going to get obliterated. The Cataclysm comes down. Nothing they can do about it. He will eventually just drop. It'll be Special picking up his first kill of the game. They may even get two turrets off the back of this play, and Magi Felix showing top as well to clear that wave. Maybe just due to the way that the XL set these waves up. It's allowed a huge swing in gold now. It's 6,000, 7,000 almost. No, 6,000 almost. Can't do that.
In the end.
6,000 almost, though, opening up for XL, which is a very significant gold lead at 16 minutes.
And you can look at the disparities. Almost 2,000 the top lane, over 2,000 AD carry, 1,000 mid. The gold is exactly where it needs to be for BTXL. And we questioned Fnatic's draft priorities earlier in the split last week. And we questioned the emphasis on scaling. This is the big test, because I feel like BTXL have played this early game as well as you can ask for. And if Fnatic can come back from this against the other Academy team, then I think it shows that their draft priorities were correct.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Right now, XL have all of the cards in their hands, though. The third Dragon of the game, and Fnatic are setting up for contesting this. I just feel like they lose in a team fight, though, especially as Deadly's bullet time is about to come back off cooldown.
Matty with no flash. Well, the bullet time is up soon, but Cataclysm isn't. They're setting up for this Dragon. BTXL want to contest.
Yeah, it's going to be Sendo jumping straight into the pit. He's going to knock Dan out of it. He's going to take him very low and actually has to buy a big shield to work out with. That's going to be Magi Felix zoning people away. Kasing gets the big knock up onto Bravado. There comes the ultimate from Deadly. He's doing a huge amount of damage and is now just a 1v1 smite. It's going to be Taxa picking it up, and XL clean up at this Baron, at this Dragon fight.
That was the point where Fnatic said they need to try and contest things. Matty, I don't think he can get away from this one. He's looking for the execute.
It's going to be the flash from him, Special. I think the
oh, he got it as well. The auto didn't come in time.
Yeah, I think Special's just going to shame recall there because he did burn his flash for that.
Bit of a waste of flash there, but overall still, BTXL coming out huge. Fnatic said this is the point where we need to start contesting things. At Soul Point, one before the Infernal Souls achieved for BTXL, but not only do they lose the Dragon, they lose the fight as well. And this is where you start to question things because Fnatic said this was enough, and yet they still fell to XL.
They felt like they needed to go for that third Dragon. Maybe they just assessed how far they were behind and said, irrespective, like maybe we've got a big MagiFelix ultimate that we can work with. XL now firmly in the driving seat though. They'd have to make a mistake, I think, to really lose grip of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And now the goal, 3,000 between 80 carries. And there's a similar item path between both of them, going the Essence Reaver Infinity Edge into a Zeal item. And right now there's a whole item difference between Xmatty and Deadly.
Deadly's got that Infinity Edge. Sorry, yeah, locked in. It's a lot of damage now for the Misfortune.
Yeah, and you can see Special. Yes, he's flashed us, but he's picked up that Banshee's Veil. Harder to threaten. Sendo with that Triforce. They're in such a good spot. And I feel like this is where it starts to get difficult, because with those two mid towers down, you can see right now on the minimap, Xmatty catching that wave means they are not in a position to contest their own jungle, and they have to back away to any sort of aggression coming out from BTXL.
And then XL can just consistently threaten the Baron, and in 4 minutes time, the next Dragon's going to spawn, the Dragon Soul, which will be an Infernal Dragon Soul. They're going to try and go for Deadly, but their Dan whiffs on the ultimate. It was a good attempt. Deadly was by himself. They maybe had a bit of vision control there, but I mean, XL playing like they're playing for the final right now. They are really clean.
And these are the signs that Fnatic, their game hasn't gone to plan, because they were happy to concede things in the early levels. You saw the level 1, Dan was able to concede pressure. He understood he couldn't. But at this point, these plays are starting to indicate they need something to get back in the game. And I think it shows that they expected to fall behind with regards to scaling, but this is very significant right now. 7,000 difference. XL are rotating towards bot. MagiFelix clears a wave.
MagiFelix does get just poked out a little bit, not a huge amount of damage. What I will say, though, is I think XL really set up and shut down one of the things that we've seen Fnatic do so well. One of the things that Fnatic were very good at, as of late, has been that combo between Bravado and Dan. We haven't seen that once this game, mainly because the vision that was put deep into the jungle very early on had tabs on where Dan was at all times. He never got the blinding invades that XL knew where he was at all points.
And I think as well, coming out from the draft, having the Misfortune and denying the Braum away, well, I mean, it was the Nautilus pickup by Fnatic, but essentially meant that Matty was trapped in lane, unable to sort of counteract the Misfortune power. And Bravado, he was just having to hold his hand throughout the entire laning phase.
Also, they prioritized Special Syndra. A good pick for anyone, but very good for Special, which meant that it's likely going to get priority versus any mid laner that Fnatic looked to try and pick up. So, you know, Syndra is one of the highest priority mid laners available because of her shoving power. So it just meant that both bot lane and mid lane were shoved in consistently, and it meant that Dan couldn't make these invades because they couldn't free up their support, and they couldn't really rely on the support of MagiFelix coming out of the mid lane. I think XL just drafted really nicely to counteract some of the ways that Fnatic have been finding success.
And the thing is that Fnatic allowed this to happen because they had situations where they could contest this in terms of offering a bit more priority, but they went, no, we're going to take picks that will secure us the late game. The problem is, I don't know if the game will be still going when Fnatic are in their late game. Has slowed down quite a bit now. Obviously trickier to take those inner turrets without a Herald. And Baron, a little bit risky on the cards, but now the Soul is up in less than a minute. And we saw Fnatic, they wanted to contest the third one.
They're going to want to contest the fourth one. And actually, it's much less risky to take the fourth Dragon than it is to take the Baron, because you don't take that massive team-wide damage. It's a bit more, especially blue side, you know, you can get good vision control on the blue side jungle and see where Fnatic are coming from especially. So it's a bit less risky for XL to go for.
The only thing is you would be trapped in that pit against things like the Vladimir, the Aphelios.
Look at this, though. Sendo just trying to draw attention away. He knows exactly when they're coming. There's a lot of vision control there. They might catch him. No, they're not going to be able to.
They're looking for the full collapse, so I don't think Bravado can get there. And this has given up all their control of the Dragon area. They wanted the pick, they wanted the 4v5, and they end up paying for it. Sendo's going to walk back mid and shove the wave in. That's going to leave a little bit of space when they walk in.
They jump straight onto Sendo. Sendo just does a big ultimate right into the middle of Fnatic, and there comes the Cataclysm too. And Sendo is still alive. Huge damage coming out from XL right now. No one is on Deadly. Taxa, he is going to go very low but won't die. And suddenly, Fnatic, they realize the mistake they made. Matty's not going to escape. He's just dead. Sendo, well, almost dead. Sendo tries to chase him down there.
Braun? No.
No way.
This thing tried.
But they're going to get the Dragon Soul for this. That's all they were after, realistically, at the end of the day. It's a bonus to get any kills on top of that as well. That's the Dragon Soul confirmed.
Yeah, it's only one, though. Fnatic got away with that because if they'd lost more members, that would have been the Baron. But inevitably, the Soul goes over to BTXL. They have an 8,000 gold lead. And irrespective of the scaling Fnatic has available, the game is in XL's hands.
And now with the Soul, that's huge burst damage coming through as well, especially with the likes of Misfortune, and also that's a 4,000 gold difference between Deadly and Matty, by the way.
That's more than that. That's more than the expensive items in terms of the Infinity Edge and the Essence Reaver.
Deadly's popped off this game.
At this point, Deadly can invest in a defensive item if he wants. He can pick up a stopwatch for the Baron fight. He's in a really comfortable position, and Fnatic, it's looking rough. That fight wasn't enough, and now you have the Infernal Soul also stacking up against yourself. You have all those Dragon buffs, although less than last patch, the individual Dragon buffs, they're still a factor, and the Soul is obviously massive, especially with champions like the Syndra, the Misfortune.
Adds to the burst, and you don't need to add to the burst of already burst-heavy champions.
Absolutely not. They're trying to contest the vision pretty heavily, and with the current state of the map being an Infernal Soul, there's a lot more routes in which BTXL can force their way into Fnatic's jungle. There's not as much risk of going through a choke point when all that terrain has been cut down because of the Infernal Soul.
You can split up more effectively versus the Karma and the Vladimir as well when you're in the jungle, where usually those choke point areas would allow for big, easy ultimates to happen. And obviously things like Deadly's ultimate is just going to go through terrain regardless of where people are. So Sendo now versus MagiFelix. MagiFelix has done, I mean, he's the only person that really has had no real test this game apart from losing priority. Sendo's going to look for an aggressive play here onto MagiFelix. They're same levels right now, and Sendo is just wailing on him.
He's winning that matchup. He's picked up some magic resistance working towards the wit's end.
He's picked up a lot of magic
Look how deep. This is a thing with the mid-inner tower being down. They can go so far into the enemy jungle and just clear out all this vision. There are a couple of wards you can see on the minimap that are deep near the Baron, but they aren't going to really offer much right now. BTXL are looking for this top lane tower. Very little Fnatic can do.
They can't really do much about it at all, and this will be one remaining outer tower left in the bottom side of the map right now. MagiFelix, you can see Sendo, he's aware. Sendo is aware of what's going on. He's just going to back off very nicely. But they realize that Dan is down here, so...
I think he sensed that MagiFelix went from running away to
like,
trying to walk
fight him.
Not the best acting, and Oscar does not go to MagiFelix for that one. And right now, BTXL, they've seen Dan on the bot side. I think they can just start it up right now. They're going straight into the pit, and Dan is nowhere near. I think they're giving this one up.
I don't think Fnatic could contest it, even if they tried. There's just... You can see right now in the bot lane, though, Sendo's looking for a big engage onto MagiFelix. He uses the pool, but let's see if Dan can save him with the ultimate. That is a big shield stacked up. Dan's coming in now. Teleport is there. That's going to be special coming through,
That's
right?
a mistake.
That's a mistake. I think it is a mistake indeed. Although there's a big, big shield still. That's a big collapse. Huge damage. Bravado just about survives. And now MagiFelix coming through. They're going to get the root.
They can't approach him.
They can't approach him. That's insane.
They can't get near him.
How? Obviously, they've lost Baron here, so Sendo will give his life a Baron at any time, any day. And now Deadly and Kasing are pushing mid.
Yeah, they're so low. They have to just give up. This tower's going down. There's nothing they can do. And initially, I thought it was a mistake from Special. He didn't actually ult Pride there. He would have definitely killed him. Bravado survived with the stone plate. But ultimately, they try and contest him on the bot side. They lose, and BTXL take that mid lane inhibitor tower. 10,000 has been surpassed in the gold lead. Baron, Infernal Soul. The base has been broken already. BTXL looking great in this game.
This is one of the most commanding leads we've seen in the UKLC so far, and it's between our arguably two top teams.
Yeah. And it asks a lot of questions about the drafting priority coming out from Fnatic, because we've seen this. We've seen this scaling element picked up by them. Dan has played Sejuani every game. It's obviously a pick that isn't able to keep up with the early tempo of some of the other junglers we've been seeing often pick. We've seen the Vladimir from MagiFelix not able to go toe-to-toe in terms of priority, and it's not worked against XL. The game's definitely not completely over yet, but it definitely is looking bad for Fnatic Rising. Rabadons has come in for Special, Bloodthirster and Hex Drinker for Deadly.
He does not want to die to MagiFelix.
He's opted for the shielding. It puts him in a really comfortable spot where he's not going to be threatened. he's really hard to kill right now, and the damage output is still just absolutely ludicrous.
Wit's End there now as well, finished for Sendo, so he's going to be building up magic resist in these fights also. This is this is one of those games where you would need a miracle to come back if you were any team, let alone Fnatic at this point. So it's going to be rough. I think BTXL are definitely on the warpath. They're looking to take this win and cement themselves as one of the best teams in the UKLC, joint with Barrage. And that would actually put Fnatic down at third.
Deep TP flank coming in. This could be it.
Deep TP flank. Sendo is there. I wonder if they've seen this whatsoever. Sendo can definitely teleport in. Deadly turns around. MagiFelix is there. And it's going to be an immediate engage onto Deadly, who flashes out. Huge damage coming out, though. They can't touch him with the magic resist. Special wards away. And now Fnatic are caught between the pincers of XL. Matty will go down. MagiFelix and Bravado are the only ones left alive, but they will not last long. Dan on very low HP on the top side. Oh, they'll take down Bravado too, and this should be game for XL.
And XL say scaling is not the way to play the game. They take an aggressive early composition and they crush Fnatic. The game is theirs to end now. Dan only to defend, and he's left to question the decisions they made in this game. Dan will try his best, but he's getting chunked out. They can easily deal with this.
And XL find revenge from Fnatic's win last year in the finals. They at least set the tone for the UKLC this split. BTXL are the best academy team in the UK, at least for now. Well, what a game.
Solid performance, and it felt like going in, we knew that XL would be the ones favored in the early game. We knew they would be the ones who had to set the pace, and they did. There's two elements to it. It questions Fnatic Rising's drafting priority to go for the more scaling-oriented. We could see that clearly there were points they were willing to give up advantages, like Dan backing out of the jungle. But later on, they quickly realized the game was getting out of control. They were happy to give up some things, but when it came to that third dragon, that was the point where they said no, but it was not enough. The goal lead was too significant, and XL, they'd played things perfectly.
I feel like when I'm looking at Fnatic's composition, I'm looking at a comp that's like, we sit back and we just hope that XL don't execute. Like, that's like something I would see them drafting that versus like Demise, and they would win every time because...
I mean, they have been drafting that at times. They've been drafting this style, and I think there's different reads on the game at the moment in which some people believe you can just play for the scaling element with things like the individual dragons in lower priority because, you know, Infernal was 8% stats, it's now 4%, with tower plating being worth less, and the fact that we've said you only have to contest dragons at that third. You can even leave it till fourth if you want to, but it's a bit risky. But in this situation, it was clear we saw a clash of two ideologies about the game, and in this situation, XL won it handily.
I'm not going to focus on Fnatic's play because I think there was just a big compositional difference where if XL did what they needed to do in the early game, they just won that realistically in my eyes. I feel like they just took control, and I can't really point to any points in that game where XL were actually making mistakes. I feel like they near on played this flawlessly in terms of global objective control and the way they rotated and the timings.
Yeah, it looked like it could have been a little bit rough when there was a TP from Special into 5 members of Fnatic, but he was so strong, not even phased. And then at the end, the last desperation TP flank from MagiFelix, and I don't think Deadly, I think his shield broke from the Bloodthirster. That was about it.
I mean, he had so much extra defensive stats because he had that much of a gold lead. And the Hex Drinker on top was meant that even if MagiFelix somehow managed to burst him down, he still had the shielding and the lifesteal to bring him back up to a good HP total.
Yeah, and I mean, he was level 15 as well. They'd stacked a lot of gold onto him. He hadn't actually had as much time in a side lane farming as he usually did. And
the game was a lot shorter than usual.
They set the pace to be a fast one. It wasn't super short, but it felt like the whole game from minute 1 throughout, XL were in control.
Yeah, definitely so. And that means XL will find themselves at the top of the standings. Speaking of, we're not going to show you them because we haven't got them updated yet. But right now, Barrage and XL are 4-0. And actually, Fnatic find themselves in technical third at 3-1. We actually have a big series of games coming up next week. So we'll have the schedule, hopefully, to show you what's coming up on the first day of the UKLC next week. It's going to be XL taking on Barrage. That's a big game. It will decide the first place in the UKLC for the current time being. M&M versus Phelan. Demise versus Enclave to decide the bottom place of the UKLC.
Who gets a win?
Who gets a win? And it'll be Fnatic taking on Envision, a big test for Envision there as well.
Yeah, because Envision did lose to XL, but made it look a lot closer than this game did, to be honest.
I'm sure Envision were looking at it thinking, there are things that we can do here.
Yeah, absolutely. So they could come up against Fnatic and potentially challenge them. And then the next day off next week, day 2, we actually have Raj going up against Fnatic.
Yeah.
So we'll see the team who are now undefeated go against both academies and see if they can get out unscathed. So a lot of interesting things come out.
XL look good, though. I think I have to take that away. It's a very strong roster. They executed versus Fnatic very cleanly. And they're probably going to get confidence now going forward for the rest of the split with a European Masters spot on the line. XL never really having huge success at that tournament. This could be their split.
And I think a big difference is the fact that they have Special in from day 1. I still believe best mid laner in the league, formidable player, and was strong in his short time in the LEC.
I buy your read on that now.
And Deadly working with Kasing, they're a great pair in tandem. This was the pair who've been playing duo queue for such a long time, and it was destined to come together eventually. I think this is the roster. I think this is a roster where XL are going to claim the UK title. It's been a long time since XL got a UK title. I was playing for them when they got a UK title, so they are long overdue. And if it's going to be a split, it's this one.
I think you're absolutely right. Now, we are going to leave it here, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back next week. On Sunday, we'll be kicking things off at 7 p.m. CET with the Nordic League, and the same on Monday. But if you want to tune into the UKLC, that begins on Tuesday, 7 p.m. CET, 6 p.m. GMT. See you soon.